Hi, this is Derek Jordan. Welcome to the World Fusion Show, where we bring you the leading innovators in world fusion music. Today, my guest is John Hughes, who is a composer, kora player, singer, and percussionist. John actually builds his own koras. It's a very unusual instrument, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Welcome, John Hughes, to the World Fusion Show.
Thanks, Derek. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks so much for coming today. Kora is really unusual instrument. I mean, it's not in West Africa. It's a very common instrument in West Africa. But tell us a little bit about the instrument.
Well, it's been around almost 1,000 years, and it has a really interesting history. Traditionally, it was played just by one cast of people called jellies, who passed the instrument from father to son, from grandfather to son, something like that. And women didn't play the instrument, although there's some women starting to play now. It traditionally has 21 strings. The one I play has 22. Mm-hmm. And it's made out of a great big calabash that's covered with a cowhide, and then usually the wood is goni, well, that's pretty common. That's traditional. And the instrument that I play is pretty much a traditional instrument, except the tuning pegs. The traditional instrument has braided rawhide rings, one for each string.
Not an easy tuning mechanism.
Yes, it's definitely a labor-intensive, labor of love kind of experience.
Yeah, that's right. So, where did you grow up? Where'd you come up?
I was born in New York City, and I lived there until I was 16, at which point I left and went to boarding school in Vermont.
Nice, Putney School, right?
Yes.
That's right, very good. So what was your earliest musical influences? What got you interested in music?
Oh, boy. I was definitely out of the box right from the start. While my friends were listening to Steely Dan and Pink Floyd and Boston.
Okay, I know the era. Yes, you're.
I was listening to Gregorian chants.
Really?
And
okay.
Charlie Parker.
Wow.
And
you were way out there.
Yeah. I was just really interested in just the huge world of music.
That's so cool. Yeah. So you also began at a young age as an artist and a sculptor, and you went to art school, and that was really your focus at one point, right?
Well, it feels like most of my life, really, I was focused on visual art, painting and then sculpture.
You make big stuff too, right?
I do. Yeah, the hardest stuff to sell. Big indoor stuff.
Big heavy metal things.
And fragile wooden paper things.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But so all of my formal education is as a visual artist.
Right.
My undergraduate degree, graduate degree.
And you took a left turn into music and you got into kora, which, I mean, how'd you find that and discover that?
So I was in graduate school in Wisconsin, at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, working away in my studio. And I always listen to music when I'm building things. And I was listening to the radio, and I heard Tumani Jabate playing kora, and I was dumbstruck.
Yes.
I was so touched by first the sound of the instrument, and then the music that he was playing, which was music from the traditional canon.
Yeah.
It struck me as really special because it seemed to at once capture like a full range of emotions. You know, it would be sad and happy all at the same time. You know, tragic and joyful all at the same time.
He's truly a brilliant artist.
He's a master.
Why don't we go to this first video clip and we can see John, listen to John playing by solo on his beautiful kora. So nice. And we get the added visual bonus of the stroboscopic
It's amazing, yeah.
effect on those strings. I actually, in the 70s, I discovered that when I was playing a harp that I built in front of a TV.
Yes.
And I saw the strings and I was like, cool. So we actually made a video with my girlfriend at the time
Nice.
of that, which was such good and so cool to see it there again. So you build your own koras, which is fantastic. They're really exquisite instruments. Can you tell us a little bit about that process?
Yes. To me, it really makes me happy to somehow bring together my life as a sculptor and my life as a musician by building instruments. And there's something so satisfying about playing an instrument that I built. I think the last instrument that I built, it took about 300 hours. It's not a fast thing. There's so many parts.
Oh, yeah.
And I spent like a week at least doing sonic tests on different kinds of woods.
Wow.
So it was really inventing the wheel in a lot of ways, even though the instrument is 1,000 years old.
Ancient.
There's nothing written down about how to build it and
you didn't have someone to talk to about
exactly.
it. Right?
So I really was figuring it out as I went along.
Well, you did.
Thanks.
Quite nicely, I'd say.
Thank you.
Yeah, you love to collaborate, and one of your main collaborators has been Stephen Katz, who is a friend and a wonderful cellist.
Amazing.
And composer.
Yes.
I'd love to go to this next clip where you're doing a duet with him.
Great.
Okay? so great.
Thanks.
It's really, you guys have just a wonderful thing together, I think. And Stephen there is doing his patented flying pizzicato,
Yes.
which is something he champions. So tell me what's next for you. What are you looking forward to? What are your next musical challenges?
Well, I loved playing with Stephen. I think I grew and learned more than any given chunk of time playing as a musician. Working with him, I would love to find another collaboration that really wakes me up and inspires me that way.
Yeah, that's really great. So we have, actually, we have one more clip we can go to with Stephen, another duet with you guys.
Okay.
Why don't we check that out?
Great.
It's great. So you do a lot of improvisation, and I think your composing comes through that improvisation a lot of times. These are all your own compositions that we've been listening to. Did you ever study with a kora player? No.
No, I've taken one lesson with a kora player, a master player from Mali, Bala Tunkara, in Boston. He used to live there. And it was a very interesting experience because he got really mad at me because he thought I was lying to him. So basically I got there about how long I'd been playing or right. about what I could and couldn't do.
It's just he didn't think you could be as good as you were.
Well, what happened was, first thing he wanted me to do was play for him so he could get a sense of your... And so I did, and pretty quickly he started nodding his head and he said, okay, I got it. And so he started to show me something, and I was really slow to pick it up. And he was mad at me because he thought I was just pulling his leg, that I couldn't pick it up faster.
He thought you'd be quicker to pick it up.
Yeah, so basically I am completely self-taught.
So what was the struggle? I'm curious because you are very coordinated.
Completely self-taught.
Yeah.
And the way that I approached teaching myself the instrument, I skipped some very basic steps. So pretty quickly, I gained a kind of fluency, proficiency, facility, able to move quickly, that usually people don't get to until they've been studying for much longer.
Interesting. And
some very basic things I didn't know how to do, like just in terms of the layout of the strings on the instrument, where all the octaves are. I didn't start by learning the instrument, just learning the layout of the instrument. I just started thinking of the instrument as a percussion instrument with lots of different sounds and playing around. And so I've had a really strange, circuitous road.
It works for you. And you are a percussionist. I know you played drums for many years, djembe and other stuff, and you did study traditional West African drumming. So your sense of rhythm is very good, obviously.
Thanks.
From all that work, you know. Do you still play drums much at all? Or?
I do. I teach a weekly class and still perform every once in a while.
Yeah. It's really great to stay in that and have different instruments to go to, just to keep a broad kind of perspective of music, you know, I think. Yeah. Anything else that you'd like to share with our viewers?
I think it's the story of like how I actually learned to play the instrument is really fascinating.
Yeah.
So I listened to so I mentioned that I heard it on the radio when I was in graduate school.
Right.
It didn't occur to me to play the instrument. I wasn't a musician. I just liked to listen to it. And I started collecting all the kora music I could find and listening to it like food. And it wasn't until 10 years later that I actually touched a kora.
Wow.
And I was at a party. Someone had one there. I'd never seen one in real life. And he let me play it for like 30 seconds. And I just thought, I've got to do this. And so he was going to Mali to study, and I asked him to bring one back for me. And so he did. A few months later, there I was with a kora sitting in my living room. And basically the way I started was I would think about, I'd also been doing some research about the history of the kora, and I had learned what the first song that traditionally people often learned was, a song called Khalifa Ba. And so I knew that song because I'd listened to it thousands of times. And so I just started to sing it in my head. And I got to the first note, and I just went fishing on the instrument to find that note. You know, ding, no, that's not it. Ding, no, that's not it. Ding.
Yeah, you'll get there.
And then finally, there it was. That's it.
That's the
and
note.
then I thought of the second note of the song, and I just went fishing.
Nice.
And slowly I built an understanding of where those notes were.
So wonderful, John. It's just great to hear your progress and your evolution and how you got to where you are now. People hear you now and they're shocked and amazed and spellbound by your beautiful sound.
Thank you.
It's so great, and I want to really thank you for coming on the show today, and being our guest and gracing our listeners with your beautiful instrument and compositions. We are going to end the show as we usually do with some live in the studio playing.
Great.
So I'm really looking forward to that.
Terrific.
And just want to thank everyone. Thank you for coming today and listening to the World Fusion Show. This is Derek Jordan, and thanks for being part of the music, as always. And remember, think globally, listen locally, and support independent music.